This video is about the mark of the beast. In order to understand what the mark of the beast is, you have to understand the definitions of certain words. The beast is the United States government. In the Bible, the beast is the earthly ruler. The United States government is an earthly ruler. And in the Bible, it talks about do not fornicate with the beast. Fornicate means intercourse. If you look up the legal definition of intercourse, it means commerce, which means that you cannot engage in commerce with the United States government. So, when you engage in commerce with the United States government, you get the curses that's in Deuteronomy 28, and you get sin, because sin means debt. So, when people say the vaccines and the chip, that's the mark of the beast. In order to understand what the mark of the beast is, you have to understand what the forehand and right hand means. Forehead and right hand means. Now, in the Bible, when they talk about the forehead and the right hand, the forehead means your master. So let's say I work at McDonald's. If I got a McDonald's hat on, then at the time that I'm at work, my master is McDonald's. If I'm clocked out and I'm outside with a McDonald's hat on, it lets people know that there's a possibility that I could be an employee at McDonald's and that my McDonald's is my master. So let's say I got a company and I could charge more than, or I could pay more than what McDonald's has to offer, and that person accepts. And my company has a hat and he has to wear my hat. That means he's moved from one master to the other. He went from McDonald's being his master to my company being the master. Now, when it comes to master, it speaks on a servant-master relationship, which is similar to an agent-principal relationship. So, in the United States, you're going to be a slave to one of two things. You're going to be a slave to a boss or slave to a money. If you have a job, you're going to be a slave to the boss. If you're self-employed, then you're going to be a slave to the money. At the end of the day, in the United States, the best you can get is the slave to the money. And that's even if that people feel like that's the best they can get. So, forehead means master. It could also mean in your brain too, but more likely it means master. So, by me being a representative of my name, I work for God. So by me working for God, God is my master. So a halo represents that you work for God. So now I got a halo over my head. I have a halo over my head because that signifies that I work for God. Now, because it's a job that's not like a job inside the United States, you're going to be like, oh, there's no halo there. How? There's no halo there. If you'd have represented your name, you would know it's a halo over my head because you would have the same halo over your head. Even if you're self-employed and don't have a job, if you're a slave to money, that's your forehead. Your money is your forehead because it's your master. Like I said, you're either slave to a boss or slave to the money. Now, the right hand means oath because that's what you raise when you take an oath. Now, the only oath that could be taken that doesn't violate God's law is if a U.S. citizen takes an oath to the United States and the United States serves the people. So, to explain in detail, the people serve God, the United States government serves the people, and the United States citizen serves the government. Now, when the government was serving the people and the people were serving God, then the government was in its right capacity because it was a servant. Now, the United States government was amassed over the U.S. citizens, but the U.S. citizens still serve the people because the government served the people. So if a United States citizen took an oath to the United States government and the United States government serves the people, then it's not an oath that violates God's law. But the government, because of the debt that it had, converted the people into U.S. citizens. So now, instead of the government serving the government converted the people into U.S. citizens, and now the U.S. citizens just serve the government. So now the U.S. citizen has two masters, which is God and the United States government. When the government was serving the people, the U.S. citizens only had one master, which is God. So because the United States citizen serves the United States government, the United States government doesn't serve the people publicly, then taking an oath to the United States is violating God's law. So the U.S. citizen has debt, and the representative of the U.S. citizen has no debt. So when you raise your right hand to take an oath, you're not allowed to take any oath. They all violate God's law. So when they talk about the mark of the beast being the right hand or the forehead, it does not deal with a vaccine. It does not deal with a chip. Now, the vaccine and the chip are marks of the beast, but it's not the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is your birth certificate and your social security number. The reason why the mark of the beast is your birth certificate and your social security number is because that's the first thing that you get when you are born. The beast is the government. A mark is a mark. That means a mark of the beast is a government mark, and we're not allowed to fornicate with the beast without violating God's law. The government wasn't the beast when the government was serving the people. But when the government stopped serving the people and converted the people into U.S. citizens, it committed treason. So now the government is now considered the beast. So now we're not allowed to fornicate with the beast. When it says don't fornicate with the beast, that means that we're not allowed to have any contracts with the United States government that makes us a U.S. citizen. If you have a birth certificate and have a social, it's no problem. The problem is if you're a U.S. citizen, because instead of you using the name is using you. So, the mark of the beast is a government mark. The forehead and the right hand has literal meanings and metaphorical meanings. If you only see the literal meaning, then you'll miss out on the metaphorical meaning. So, the mark of the beast is the birth certificate and the social security number. Now, people say the chip is a mark of the beast, which is true. But the chip leads to your social security number. If you don't have a social security number, you cannot get anything inside the United States. You can't get paid from your job. The stimulus checks that came out, you went and got a stimulus check. Unless you got an ITIN or a social security number, you cannot buy or sell anything unless you're doing it privately. And if you do it privately, 9 times out of 10, or I'll put like this, 10 times out of 10, the United States is going to consider it illegal. Unless it's some under the table work, the United States is going to consider any business that you do without social security number, EIN or ITIN, illegal. Now, EIN is a little different because that's corporations. But without a social, you're not getting anything. So what it says, you can't buy or sell. You can't buy or sell because you don't have no social. Now, if you have a job, your paycheck comes from your social security number because your social security number is attached to the Federal Reserve Bank. If you don't have no social, you can't get no job because the money that we have now isn't real. So, because the money is fake or fiction, then the money goes to the corporation, which is your name, which is also fiction. Since you're real, you can't receive money that's fictional. Basically, if the United States can't pay the representatives outright because the government knows monopoly money. You can't give a real person monopoly money. You can give monopoly money to your name and then you receive it from your name, but the government can't give you money directly. So that's why you need your name in the first place. You need your name to be a corporation and a trust because all the gold is gone. That's the only way you can get paid. So like I said, your social security number is the mark of the beast, and the birth certificate is the mark of the beast. Now, having the birth certificate and the social isn't the problem. It's being the U.S. citizen that's the problem. As a U.S. citizen, you're in hell. If you're in hell, you think you're your name, you think that your social security number is yours, and even if it belongs to you because it's assigned to you, your unlimited money's in that social security account. And since it's a privilege, you have to follow certain qualifications to even get any benefits from that social security number. So, the mark of the beast is your birth certificate and your social security number. The beast is the United States government. The United States government is an earthly ruler. If you have an earthly ruler, you will die. The people did not have an earthly ruler. The government converted the people into U.S. citizens. So now, as much as you don't want to believe that a U.S. citizen has an earthly ruler, a U.S. citizen has an earthly ruler. Why do you think people die? And it's not a death from the physical realm, which I'm trying to cause with these videos. It's death inside the video. It's death inside the physical realm. We operate on money of account in the United States. When you get a birth certificate, it opens an account with the United States government. When you get a death certificate, it closes the account with the United States government. You are in hell. You are going to die if you cannot leave the United States. The only way you're going to leave the United States outside of flesh and blood death is knowledge. That all these videos that I make, that's just pieces from what I read nonstop. And I done read government websites and third-party websites. I read the third-party websites to tell me about the government websites. I just fact-check everything. So, as much as y'all worried about the chip and as much as y'all worried about the vaccine, if you're worried about the vaccine, it's understandable. But if you're going to be worried about the vaccine, you got a lot of stuff to be worried about because everything that we had today is just poisonous. It doesn't matter, and it really doesn't even matter whether it was poisonous or not. The vaccine is poisonous, the water we have is poisonous, the food is poisonous. If you are a U.S. citizen, you are going to die whether you take the vaccine or not. So if you're going to be a U.S. citizen, you might as well take it before they do the get down, lay down approach because that's about to come. They already got the get down side out the way, so now the lay down sides come. So like I said, people say that taking the vaccine is a choice. I've been telling people that putting tags on your car is a choice, and that titling your car is a choice. But I got trolled for not titling my car. So for all the unvaccinated people, like I said, I'm not vaccinated. I'm never going to get vaccinated. But I'm not a U.S. citizen either. So I have protections against the United States government. Without protections against the United States government, you're going to lay down. The same way people got tags on their car, you're going to lay down. And like I said, that don't mean if you vaccinate is even better. That means you just lay down without putting out a fight. So the chip is attached to your social security number. It's a mark of the beast, but you already got a mark of the beast with a social. You already got a mark of the beast with a birth certificate. Why focus on the vaccine and the chip when you need to focus on that birth certificate and the social security number and focus on that money and realize that money is not backed by any gold. We have money of account. Every Federal Reserve note is backed by an account at the Federal Reserve Bank. That same Federal Reserve Bank that's on that Federal Reserve note is on the back of your social. Money is a signature. In order to go to the bank, you got to sign that check before you get the Federal Reserve notes. You got to sign the money order before you get the Federal Reserve notes. Your money is your signature. As a U.S. citizen, you're taught that money is the Federal Reserve note. So you chase your Federal Reserve notes, but don't realize the Federal Reserve notes come from your signature. So now that you know what the mark of the beast is, if somebody else tells you, oh, it's the vaccine or the chip, they only giving you half the story. They cannot keep you from dying. So if you're worried about dying from taking it, you're going to die regardless if you're a U.S. citizen. So if you want to look into the vaccine and the chip, be my guest. But it's more important to look into that birth certificate and the social security number and the money and contract law. Because when you do that, you will learn what your rights are, and then you can use your rights to protect you from the United States government. Without rights, you have no protections from the United States government. If you got a little bit of protection with whatever you won in your previous time, that's what's up. But that's not guaranteed all the time. Your rights are guaranteed even if you gotta fight for it. So, if you want to look at the vaccine and you want to look at the chip, be my guest. But if I title my car, that's the mark of the beast for my car. The same way how the birth certificate's the mark of the beast for me. Because I have a registered security interest in my birth certificate, the account with the United States government is closed. So you either going to close it out with a security interest in your birth certificate, or you're going to get a death certificate. One is the death from the physical realm through knowledge. One is the death in the physical realm through the flesh and blood death. So, look into that birth certificate, that social, and the money. Prove me wrong. You can't. You cannot. Prove me wrong. All that mark of the beast talk, like I said, the vaccine and chip is a mark of the beast, but the birth certificate and the social is the mark of the beast.